I ended last week's episode with a question. Do I really even want this anymore? This week, I've got some answers. This is the Chronicles of Shred. Last week I shared some of the struggles and some of the frustrations and some of the just fatigue that I've been experiencing on this journey. And I shot the podcast 20 minutes before it was supposed to go live, and I didn't even have my lights on. I just came down here and spoke from the heart, shot from the hip, whatever you want to call it. It was what it was. And this has been such an evolution because it really is real time. And so from week to week, sometimes I feel good, sometimes I feel bad. And sometimes I feel like I'm making progress, and sometimes I feel like I'm falling apart. And sometimes I have great insights, and then I forget them and don't live them. But what it really boils down to is that I have wanted to do this since I was 5 or 6 years old, when I got those first Kiss records from my cousins in a box of hand-me-downs. And it's still in me, and I do still want this. And I've just got to stop trying to perfect it. You know, we've been going out trying to get our 27 concerts in this summer, and we went and saw a band Saturday night, and they were fine. I did not enjoy them. Most of it was pet peeve type stuff. As you can see, I really like fancy guitars. I like ostentatious, loud graphics, reverse headstocks, pointy bodies, attention-getting guitars. And this guy just had a brown Les Paul. And I am not the biggest Les Paul fan, and I am not the biggest brown guitar fan. This was not even like Stain, where you could see the wood grain, which I can tolerate. But this just looked like a 70s coffee table. Just boring. And I hated every song they played. The one guy, the guy with the end table Les Paul, was pretty good. You know, he was a good player. The rest of the band, fair at best. Nobody was a great singer. The other guitar player made a ton of mistakes. The bass player got so lost in one song, he actually stopped. I didn't stay for the whole show because it just was not great. But the crowd ate it up. They were fine. The place was pretty packed. You know, there was like a t-ball team there dancing to the music and a couple older ladies dancing to the music, and everybody was having a good time. Everybody was digging the music. It kind of reminded me of like an acoustic gig where you're just the background noise. It wasn't a concert necessarily. It was just more of a band that happened to be playing on a patio where people were eating. But they were booked, and they were playing, and they were obviously having a good time. And I get so caught up in trying to be world class, top tier, so good, so impressive, that I really almost immediately just lose the joy of doing it and start becoming the taskmaster of doing it. And I was doing it to them. I was sitting there watching them just like, ooh. It's just so many things that are pet peeves. If you're going to get on a microphone to sing a backup vocal, sing a harmony. Don't just double the lead vocal, because it's going to clash with the other person singing. And even if it doesn't add anything. And there were tons of just dissonant unison vocals going on. And I was in a band with a person that could not sing harmony. Like, they could sing the lead and you could sing the harmony, but if they had to sing a harmony, forget it. They were just going to double you. And it drove me nuts. But the moral of the story is, the average consumer, the average person that came to see the show or just came to eat dinner and the band happens to be playing, doesn't really care. They don't know the difference. And they were having a good time. And that kind of was reinforced to me because in the course of deciding what I want to do, I decided that one of my bucket list goals was to build a killer analog rig. I might have mentioned recently that I bought a new Marshall head, and it's one that I've wanted for 15 years. I've never been a big tube amp guy. I've been a modeler user for 15 years probably, or more. I mean, when I started playing shows, I was using the Pod XT Live. Well, when I started playing shows, I was using this crappy, very digital sounding multi-effects unit into a Marshall head, you know, in the mid-90s. But I haven't used a tube rig since then. I was a modeler guy from then on. So one of the things that I always wanted was the big Bob Bradshaw custom audio electronics switcher with multiple heads, multiple effects that would do anything and sounded great, and everything was controlled with the push of a single button. And so I decided to start building that. When I acquired this Marshall JVM 410, that was the best sounding Marshall head I had ever heard 15 years ago when I was out shopping for a tube head. But the JVM 410 has full MIDI control capabilities, and I have kind of been piecemealing things together over the years to build a rig like that one day when time and money allowed, and time and money allows. So I got a nice deal on a JVM. I just took a road trip yesterday to buy a live-in road case for that also has rack spaces in it so that I can wire all the effects together and the switching together and build the rig of my dreams. And my wife has been eminently supportive of that, and we were talking last night about it because I try not to mansplain and talk her to death about the nuances of gear. And so she didn't understand the difference between pedal that I have that does everything and the rig that I want to build that will do all the same things, and why it sounds better and why I can't use them together. And so we had a nice long talk about the nuances and the intricacies of gear. And then she asked the question. And the question that modeler versus analog rig people always fight about is, will anyone notice? Will anyone care? And the answer is no, probably not. Unless you are a gear nerd, guitarist, aficionado, you probably won't be able to tell that I'm using an analog rig. Modelers are pretty good. As a matter of fact, I got some JVM 410 patches for my Helix Stadium, and those are what I'm going to use on these upcoming tour dates with LA Guns, because the tube amp rig is not going to be ready to go, and it's going to be too big for me to move to these tour shows because I'm coming from Ohio and everyone else is coming from Virginia, so I will not have access to the gear transport vehicle. So I'm building it for me. I'm building the rig for me because I want it. I've always wanted it, and I can do it, and it'll be awesome, and I think it'll sound great, and it'll be cool to use live. And there are some logistical things to overcome to use it with the touring band, but maybe it'll be used for a local band. The point of the story is, my wife asked, who's going to care? Who's going to notice? And she referenced the band that we saw that, even she kind of realized was not stellar. She said, all those people at that patio that were watching that band that didn't really care that they weren't great, how many of those people are going to care that you have a real tube rig as opposed to a pedal? And the answer was none. And it really got me thinking about how ridiculously concerned I am with getting everything perfect before I begin. And I've spent all this time practicing and all this time obsessing and all this time buying gear to impress people that won't be impressed. Because the bottom line is, of the, 200 people that were on that patio, not a one of them gives a shit about what amp I'm using or even really how I sound, as long as I'm playing the songs they like. And of the people that do care, you're not going to impress them anyway. I don't know if you know guitar players, but you could have the greatest rig in the world. Somebody going to have some shit to say about it. You go to Steve Vai's page, right? And he is recognized as one of the greatest guitarists in the world, heavily influential to so many players, and you'll find some dingus on there saying some kind of backhanded shit about how he's not doing it right. It's just the nature of the beast. So all of these things kind of came together to remind me that I'm doing this for me because I love it and I want to do it. And it doesn't have to be great, and it doesn't have to be earth-shattering. It just has to start. And maybe it becomes great, and maybe it becomes earth-shattering. Somebody once said, in order to become great at something, you have to endure being bad at it, or something to that effect. And so I think it's time for me to start enduring being bad at it. So a lot of my time lately has been wrapped up in getting ready to go do these tour dates with my original band. And we've had a number of life circumstances that I hope are resolving. There's just been a lot of transition and a lot of details to manage, but these are things that have to be done and have to be addressed and have to be taken care of. And for the most part, I think they're settled. So I think that when this tour or this run of shows is over, I'm going to get started. And I don't know exactly what that looks like. Maybe I'm going to go to an open mic night and do some songs live. Maybe I'm going to put an ad up and start looking for a duo partner or a band or something. I haven't decided yet exactly what I'm going to do, but I have decided that hiding in a cave and practicing to get better is not serving me as well as I thought it would. And I think it's time to start looking at getting out there. So I'm going to build the rig of my dreams, and maybe I'm going to build the band of my dreams, and I'm going to go out there and take whatever I've got at whatever level I've got it and throw it on the stage. Hopefully it's good enough to get booked again. Hopefully it's good enough to attract fans and supporters and people that want to see it again. Because when I see bands like this that have a decent crowd and just aren't amazing, they aren't world class, they're not stellar, they're gigging, they're doing the thing. And as much as I want to be an international sensation, I've spent a lot of my career just being in a working band. I think I'm okay with that, and I think I want that back. I don't know if I want to play 80 shows a year, but I have a plan. I've done this a few times. I kind of know how to do it. And I think with enough practice, I'll be good enough to do it right. And I think the time of preparation is over, or it's at least shifted to the point where it's time to start preparing the stage show as opposed to just the core skills. And so that's my plan. July 11th, we're at Dr. Pepper Park in Roanoke, Virginia, opening for Warrant. And that is currently the last show that we have booked in the original band. And I think once I have cleared that hurdle, it's time to begin. It's time to get out there. And I've been thinking a lot about branding, and I've been thinking a lot about a band name, and I've been thinking a lot about what I want to do. I've even been thinking about the name Stevie Shred, which, as I shared, was bestowed upon me in frustration by another band member, and I loved it, and I ran with it. It's definitely a guitar player name, and I don't know if it works as a singer name. So I think a lot about that. I think a lot about my personal brand. I think a lot about a band brand, and maybe it doesn't matter. I don't even remember the name of the band I saw Saturday. It was not great. It was weird. We joked about it. It didn't make any sense. And maybe it doesn't matter as much as I think it does, but I tend to obsess, I'm finding. And so I'll be thinking about that too. But what I do think is that I do want this. It's been such an integral part of who I am for my entire life. And even though I have achieved just about everything that I wanted to achieve, I think there's yet more to do. I think this analog rig is part of it, but not all of it. I think being a singer is a huge part of it, but not all of it. I think there's more to do. I just, in my gut, feel like there's still a future in this for me, and I gotta try. I have this amazing window of time to give it my all, and I'm gonna do it. Win, lose, or draw. No more fear, no more hiding, no more waiting and planning and thinking and obsessing. It's time to make a move. So when I'm clear of these shows, moves will be made. I hope to see you next week. It might be a day late, no promises, but no worries. It'll be there. If you're enjoying this journey, hit that subscribe button. Make sure to like, follow, comment, interact so that I know that you're out there. And I will see you next time on the Chronicles of Shred.